Hello everyone, I'm Marilyn. I need to share a cautionary note with you. Because my story involves some tough experiences with abuse, I'll keep the specifics to a minimum, but I do want to highlight certain events to illustrate the challenges I faced with someone who was supposed to be family. Marrying my now ex-husband, Henry, brings me to regret. At first, Henry seemed like a wonderful person, and his family appeared equally commendable. His mother, Kayla, was involved in charity work, and his father, Bruce, was a dedicated businessman who ensured his family wanted for nothing. They seemed like the ideal family, and initially I was thrilled to join them. However, after marrying Henry, things took a dark turn due to my mother-in-law, Kayla's, behavior towards me. Kayla began to harm me in subtle yet increasingly harmful ways, aiming to control and demean me. It started with petty actions like hiding my glasses, phone, and purse, leaving me distressed and searching for them while she watched, amused. The situation escalated when she asked me to handle scalding hot pots, intentionally causing me pain. In one instance, she deliberately added fish sauce to a dish knowing I was allergic, causing me to miss an important event. She would demand hours of cooking from me, only to throw the food away, claiming these actions were accidental or denying her involvement entirely. At a family gathering, she even caused me to slip, aiming to embarrass me in front of everyone. After enduring this treatment for months, I confronted Kayla and sought my husband's support. I demanded to know why she was targeting me, expressing my exhaustion with her malicious actions. Her response was denial and deflection, accusing me of being dramatic and insinuating jealousy on my part, a baseless and hurtful accusation. Despite Kayla's outward appearance as a charitable and respected member of the community, her actions towards me revealed a very different reality, one that was difficult to reconcile with the image everyone else saw. The indifference my husband, Henry, showed towards the abuse I was enduring from his mother, Kayla, left me stunned. It was clear Kayla was manipulative, skillfully hiding her malicious acts behind a facade of innocence. Yet, Henry was fully aware of her actions, including the dangerous food tampering and the deliberate misplacement of my belongings. Despite this, he shockingly placed the blame on me for voicing my concerns. I remember confronting Henry, urging him to recognize his mother's abusive behavior. I pointed out how Kayla intentionally included allergens in meals, fully aware of the severe reactions I would suffer. Yet she never warned me. His response left me appalled. "You're being ridiculous, Marilyn. My mom would never do such things. It's all in your head," he dismissed, echoing his mother's claims that my worries were born from jealousy and paranoia. This denial of the truth, in the face of evident malice, bewildered me. Henry, who had always shown me love and care, seemed to have abandoned all concern for my well-being. Feeling like I had been struck by lightning, I was left in shock by his unfathomable stance. That's when Kayla interjected, threatening to expel me from their home and branding me unworthy of their family. She even went as far as to suggest Henry could leave with me, hinting at a potential impact on his inheritance. Henry's response was disheartening. He sided with his mother, assuring her of his allegiance and promising to correct my behavior. His readiness to dismiss me, to preserve his standing in the family, revealed a stark, painful reality. The root of Henry's betrayal became painfully clear. We were living under his parents' roof by their insistence, with Henry working for his father's company, heavily reliant on him for financial security. Though he had been given some assets, he owned no property of his own. His sights were set on his father's wealth, unwilling to jeopardize his future inheritance by siding with me against his mother. This revelation shed light on the depth of Henry's greed and the lengths he would go to protect his interests, even at the cost of our marriage and my well-being. Bruce, my father-in-law, was often away on business, oblivious to the turmoil within his home. Even I hadn't anticipated that my husband, Henry, would choose not to stand up for me. Alone, his response to my plight was shocking. "Marilyn, what's wrong with you? Do you want to risk our place in this family?" he questioned dismissively after I shared my experiences of abuse from his mother. Disheartened, I retorted, asking what kind of partner would prioritize his future security over the well-being of his spousey. Henry's defense was disheartening. He argued it was unreasonable for me to expect him to confront his mother, suggesting that doing so might jeopardize his inheritance. "Is your inheritance more valuable to you than our marriage?" I challenged him. I proposed starting fresh, away from his family's influence, even if it meant living more modestly. Yet, he dismissed the idea outright. insisting we could never afford such independence, and demanded I endure his mother's treatment without complaint. That moment crystallized the end of our marriage for me. Henry had chosen his path, clearly not the partner I believed him to be. Feeling isolated and without support, I refused to be defeated by Kayla's manipulations. Instead of fleeing, I resolved to expose her true nature. My plan was straightforward yet daring. I discreetly gathered footage from the house's security cameras, documenting Kayla's abusive actions. This evidence was compiled into a video, set aside for a significant occasion: Kayla's upcoming birthday party, attended by family and guests, including Bruce. The day of the celebration arrived, and Kayla was the epitome of grace and warmth, especially in the presence of others. Her behavior towards me was surprisingly pleasant, likely due to the company. It was the perfect stage for my reveal, aiming to unveil the facade Kayla had so skillfully maintained. My resolve was firm. It was time to bring Kayla's cruelty to light. Without making a fuss, I played along during the birthday festivities. When the moment came, after the birthday cake was celebrated, I seized the opportunity to address the gathering. "Thank you all for joining us to honor Kayla on her special day," I began, my voice steady. "Many of you are well aware of her reputation as a kind and generous individual. Today, I have prepared something to showcase just how remarkable my mother-in-law truly is." I gestured towards a screen set up for the occasion. Instead of merely talking about her deeds, I've compiled a video to give you all a closer look. Please enjoy. As the video played, revealing the truth of Kayla's actions, I was prepared for any outcome, knowing I had friends ready to support me at a moment's notice. After enduring years of mistreatment, my resolve had hardened. I was determined to stand my ground and unveil Kayla's duplicity for all to see. My care for what my husband or his mother thought of me had vanished. I was utterly done. The reaction to the video was palpable. The guests were visibly shocked, while Kayla and Henry were cornered by their astonishment. Bruce, having been distant due to his business commitments, was understandably taken aback by the revelation. When the video concluded, it was he who broke the silence, demanding an explanation from Kayla, who desperately tried to dismiss the footage as manipulated, insisting on her innocence and accusing me of malice. Kayla's attempt to deflect blame and her insistence on the videos being doctored only fueled my determination. The audacity of her claims, suggesting a year of abuse was a fabrication of my making, was astounding. I watched, wondering if anyone could still be swayed by her words after being presented with such clear evidence of her behavior. Calmly, I addressed Kayla's attempt to discredit me. "So, you're accusing me of tarnishing your reputation? How about we involve the police and see if they think these videos are fake?" I suggested. Kayla's response was dismissive, claiming the police wouldn't waste their time on what she deemed lies from me. But the mention of involving law enforcement clearly rattled her. She hadn't expected such a bold move. This was a step too far in her eyes, and her panic was evident. The unveiling of her actions had already stirred discontent among her family, and to my surprise, some of Kayla's colleagues from the charitable foundation where she worked were also in attendance. They appeared shocked, likely messaging their higher-ups about the ordeal. Amidst her attempts to salvage her image, Kayla tried to play the victim to Bruce, lamenting how I was supposedly conspiring to have her arrested. She insisted I was the one causing trouble, hoping Henry would back her up. Henry's feeble attempt to downplay the situation only added fuel to the fire. "It's not what it seems, Dad. Marilyn is overreacting. Mom's been nothing but kind," he stuttered, trying to defend his mother's indefensible actions. This moment of truth highlighted Henry's inaction and indifference towards the abuse I endured. Bruce, catching on to the fact that Henry knew yet did nothing, was visibly shocked. It became clear to everyone that Henry's priorities were skewed, valuing his inheritance and the luxury of their grand home over his wife's well-being. Bruce, a man of principle, was appalled not only by Kayla's behavior, but also by his son's lack of action. And Bruce's reaction confirmed my hopes that he would not stand by idly. His moral compass and sense of justice made him an unexpected ally in my quest for justice against Kayla. His anger was palpable, signaling that he was not going to let this matter rest. It was a turning point, revealing the true colors of those around me, and setting the stage for what would come next. When I shared with Bruce that Henry dismissed my reports of abuse, claiming I was exaggerating and unfairly accusing Kayla, it was a pivotal moment. Bruce was astounded that I hadn't approached him earlier, but I explained my need to gather undeniable evidence of Kayla's cruelty. Without it, I feared my word would be doubted. Bruce's support was immediate and heartfelt, apologizing for his son's failure to protect me and expressing regret over his lack of oversight. He even offered his blessing for me to involve the police, a stance that shocked Kayla and Henry, who had assumed their family unity would protect them from external scrutiny. Kayla's plea to Bruce, painting herself as a victim of an unfair accusation, fell on deaf ears. Bruce's patience had run out. He condemned both her and Henry's actions, declaring his intention to divorce Kayla and disown Henry, distancing himself from their betrayal. Their disbelief was palpable, having always manipulated situations to their advantage. Yet, Bruce's firm declaration, met with approval from those present, signaled a decisive break from the past. Kayla's colleagues, having witnessed the truth, offered their support to me, leaving Kayla to contend with the consequences of her actions and an irate husband. Kayla and Henry's last-ditch efforts to sway Bruce were futile. Bruce was resolute, driven by the undeniable evidence of their misdeeds. He committed to protecting me, denouncing Henry's greed and lack of spine, and affirming my innocence and worthiness of better treatment. In a dramatic turn, Bruce chose to prioritize integrity over familial ties, proposing to sever legal and financial connections with Henry and Kayla. Despite their protests and disbelief, Bruce stood his ground, signaling a new chapter of accountability and justice, marking a significant departure from the past and paving the way for healing and renewal. In the face of Kayla's and Henry's attempts to seek forgiveness, Bruce's resolve remained unshaken. Despite their shared history of nearly 25 years, Bruce was appalled to discover the extent of Kayla's cruelty. The revelation that his wife could act so monstrously was a deal-breaker for him. Kayla's reaction to his decision mirrored someone hit by lightning, while Henry, teary-eyed, pleaded in vain for Bruce's forgiveness, ignoring the true victim of their actions. The unfolding drama laid bare the true priorities of Kayla and Henry. Wealth and social standing trumped basic human decency. Henry's distress over losing his inheritance rather than the torment inflicted upon his wife was a telling sign of his character. Kayla, too, resorted to tears, not in apology to me but in a bid to sway Bruce from making a drastic decision, pleading for forgiveness as if the betrayal could be brushed aside as a mere mistake. Their apologies, once directed to me under Bruce's pointed observation of their earlier indifference, rang hollow. The desperation in their voices did nothing but deepen the disgust and anger of those who witnessed their facade crumble. Their sudden shift in attention towards me, once Bruce highlighted their neglect, was transparent and insincere, a feeble attempt to salvage their crumbling situation. I couldn't help but recoil from their belated overtures of remorse, recognizing them for the self-serving maneuvers they were. I declared my refusal to accept their superficial apologies, making it clear that their regrets stemmed not from genuine contrition, but from the consequences of their actions being brought to light. Their failure to recognize me as a person worthy of respect and kindness until it threatened their comfort revealed the depth of their selfishness. Their pleas for reconciliation, invoking the notion of family and forgiveness, could not erase the harm they had caused. I had grown too much to fall for their deceit again. Their attempts at amends were too little, too late, and I stood firm in my resolve to move beyond their toxic influence, empowered by the knowledge that I deserved far better than the treatment they had subjected me to. Hearing Kayla and Henry plead for forgiveness, calling for a return to our so-called perfect family, I couldn't help but laugh. The irony of their words was striking. In what universe does a perfect family include abuse and neglect towards one of its own? Their apologies, empty and self-serving, seemed like bad jokes at this stage. Feeling a surge of empowerment as they desperately sought my forgiveness, I faced them with a dismissive smile. Thinking I'd ever see you as a family after everything? You're mistaken. You're just parasites, scared for your future. Well, here's the thing. I don't forgive you. You're nothing to me. And Henry, don't bother playing the husband card. I'm divorcing you. That's non-negotiable. Henry's feeble attempts to justify his actions, claiming it was all done in the name of protecting our future, fell on deaf ears. His excuses only highlighted his greed and complicity in his mother's cruelty. Bruce, equally disgusted by Henry's behavior, reiterated his decision to disown him, declaring Henry's future inheritance forfeit, regardless of any reconciliation attempts on my part. Standing my ground, I announced my intention to divorce Henry and pursue what was rightfully mine in the settlement, making him accountable for his role in this ordeal. Their continued apologies became background noise to my resolution. The moment of leaving, with my friends by my side and Henry halted by a stern warning from Bruce, was liberating. I couldn't afford Kayla a final glance, moving forward with my life, away from the toxicity that had ensnared me for so long. This departure wasn't just an escape, it was a declaration of my newfound strength and autonomy, a closing chapter on a painful segment of my life, and the beginning of a journey toward healing and self-respect. Eager to erase the memory of Kayla's unpleasant demeanor, I chose not to involve the police. With Bruce initiating a divorce and disowning Henry, legal battles seemed unnecessary. They were already facing the consequences of their actions. Bruce evicted them, and without a prenuptial agreement in Kayla's favor, she was left without a claim to his wealth. Moreover, Kayla's conduct was exposed by her colleagues at the Charity Foundation, leading to her dismissal. Henry lost his position in his father's company and any hope of a significant inheritance, leaving them to consider me, of all people, as their fallback, given my stable job and finances. Kayla's audacity to seek help from me, under the guise of familial bonds, was met with a swift denial and the threat of legal action should they attempt to contact me again. In time, I settled into a new place, navigating the initial phase of independence while the divorce proceedings unfolded. Henry, lacking a prenuptial agreement and faced with the evidence of his and his mother's misdeeds, conceded to the division of his assets without much resistance. The completion of our divorce allowed me to invest in a modest apartment, securing a tangible symbol of my fresh start. Henry's subsequent plight, juggling multiple jobs to support his uncooperative mother, seemed to him an unjust reversal of fortune. His attempt to reconcile, lamenting his burdens, was met with dismissal from me. This ongoing saga of their hardship served as a prolonged retribution, a consequence of their own making. Now, with the dust settled, my life has moved on to a peaceful chapter, mirrored by Bruce's recovery from the ordeal. Henry and Kayla, on the other hand, are living out the natural consequences of their actions, a fitting resolution to a tumultuous period. This turnaround, while a slow burn, underscores a profound shift in our fortunes, underscoring the lasting impact of choices and the eventual realization of justice.